Hello and welcome to the Center for Military Modernization, Warrior Maven. Very significant conversation today in a changing global threat environment. We are joined by two representatives of industrial-based coalitions, one for the amphibious warfare ship-based coalition, as well as one for the aircraft carriers, who have a specific expertise with construction and development of aircraft carriers and amphibious assault ships. So let's make sure to welcome Captain Dave Forster, who actually is a former Navy captain who was a major program manager for the integrated combat system on board the USS Zumwalt, that well-known famous stealthy destroyer program. He's a former surface warfare officer as well. And then also Mr. Rick Giannini, who's the charge of the aircraft carrier industrial base coalition. He's also the CEO of the Milwaukee Valve Company. So both of these experts have a deep knowledge of Navy needs and, of course, the Navy situation. Thanks to both of you for joining us today. I recall writing years ago about how the Chinese Navy was on track to pass the U.S. Navy. And sure enough, in terms of just sheer numbers, that's been the case. Now, of course, it doesn't mean there's an actual overmatch or superiority in any way. But if you read the Chinese papers, the 075 amphibs, I believe they're on the second or third. There's the new quasi-stealthy kind of Zumwalt DDG-51-like Type 055 destroyer. And then, of course, there's the second and third carriers that have worked. They kind of copied the U.S. Navy with dual carrier operations to show they could compete in terms of power projection in the Pacific. So what are some of your thoughts about how that seems to clearly be continuing to drive the threat equation and the need for the U.S. Navy to retain what, by any estimation, is its clear superiority despite China's numerical advantage? So what are some of your thoughts on that issue? Let's start with amphibs.
As the chairman of the Amphib Coalition, I'm reluctant to respond to that question from a perspective of, for the coalition. But as a professional sailor, I've sailed the seas and saw the threat briefs. I got out of the Navy about 7 years ago. It causes concern, and it causes, and you're seeing the response, both in the CNO's naval strategy, and you're seeing the response with respect to either DMO or the decentralized type of warfare or the disparate warfare with autonomous vessels. The speed at which that response comes to fruition actually has some bearing on your previous question, which is the rate of those technical advancements put into the aircraft carriers very, very can be very frustrating at times. And what do I mean? They don't always go well with the first ship. DG-1000 is a great example. Where we do see that capability be realized and become cost-effective / realized capability at a right price point, is usually third, fourth, fifth unit. So what we're going to see is this. Dave Forster's professional opinion, not the coalition nor Rolls-Royce. This is we're going to see us make some very good investments in R&D. You see that in the budget document. We're going to need to advance those R&D projects faster to keep up with the threat of the pace, in order to try and compete with a very high number quantity type of enemy.
Indeed. Well, Mr. Giannini, on the carrier front, certainly the Chinese indigenously built carriers, some of them, the newer ones, look kind of like a Ford ripoff. They don't have that ski jump. They have the larger deck space and straightaway to carry the carrier air wing. They're also fast developing the J-31, the fifth generation aircraft to be carrier launched, etc. So what are some of your thoughts, given their lesser number of carriers, but rapid progress, and much of what they report about their capable industrial base to build these in large numbers, build these faster? How quickly could they catch or kind of try and close the gap with U.S. carriers?
I can't really speak to their actual technology. I don't know that any of us could, but what I do know is that in terms of numbers of ships, they're building them faster than we are. They're not physically building the ships any faster. They have many more shipyards, and one of their largest shipyards is almost 4 times the size of Newport News Shipbuilding. So what that will tell you is that the threat for them to be around for many decades is real. And I think American technology today goes beyond just the ship. The whole carrier fleet strategy, the strategic strike group, the way they all communicate together is an advantage today that we hold over our competitors in China. And I think our advances continue as we look. That's going to continue with 80 and 81 will be even more advanced than 78 and 79. And I'm certain that this trend will continue when we get to the next block buy of 82 and 83. We'll have even more technology to keep us. But we have to increase the build rate. We have to maintain a minimum of 11 carriers. We, as the industrial base, would love to see us go to 12 and combat that threat head on.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'd want to talk for hours about multi-domain networking and being so key to the strategy moving forward with JADC2 and things along those lines. My question, which is pretty significant, is this sense of power projection. Certainly when it comes to stopping any kind of rapid fait accompli when China trying to annex Taiwan, Navy forward presence, just thinking about it, could kind of save the day. There's a real Pacific emphasis. There's a real forward presence, which is so key as a deterrent. It seems quite clear that F-35s, even carriers, might be in range should the presence be close enough to impact that, potentially deter it or even destroy it if it starts.
I would say, I'm more of a supply-based guy, not the technical guy, but I can agree with you that the presence of carriers in any domain are the greatest deterrent we have as a nation. We have the ability to fly 75 aircraft off of that carrier very quickly, and it's the most survivable airfield possible because it moves around. You don't know where it's going to be. It's not fixed. We just deployed the Truman to the Ukraine, so we're doing the same thought process that you just mentioned right there, right now. I think it will be able to help.
Thanks for staying with us and embracing a handful of questions. And thank you so much for your time.